Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this broadcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Jay Moore, and I'm your health accountant. And today's enlightenment broadcast title is Families Break Up Over This. Families, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this broadcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Jay Moore, and I'm your health accountant. And today's enlightenment broadcast title is Families Break Up Over This. Families Break Up Over This. Um, this is a topic. This is a topic that happens. I think people experience this in a lot of things. Um, I remember when the first time I started doing network marketing. I know you've had family members um, do network marketing. I did network marketing, and I remember what I started to hear about families and how someone would come home with the good news of starting their network marketing business, and the spouse or the family that they took it to, even friends, they would say, "What's wrong with you? Why would you join that type of business? That business, most of the time is a scam. People don't make any money." Um, and I remember saying to myself, "Well, that doesn't make any sense to me, because hey, this is a good thing. We can earn some extra money together. All we have to do is X, A, B, and C, and we can earn some extra money." Because this is usually what happens. You go to your family, you go to your friends, you're excited, and next thing you know, they're looking at you like you done drank the Kool-Aid. There's something wrong with you. There's no way you're gonna do this. Like literally, this is what they're thinking. They may not say it outright, but they're thinking it. Most family members won't even purchase your product or service. What happens to the person that's in the network marketing business? A lot of times, most people can't handle it, and they want to start like getting mad at their family, to the point where now the family don't may not want to take the phone call, and the family or the friend may be avoiding them because they're just like, man, they're just going to keep talking about this thing, and I don't want to hear anything about it. Literally, families have broken up over people joining businesses like this. I've heard stories, where marriages didn't last because the other spouse was so adamant about the spouse that did it. And, the contention was so much that over time they just broke up. It's the same way as the gospel. It's in Matthew. And so our text for today is Matthew chapter 10, 34 to 39. Read that. Read the whole passage. I'm going to read it. It says, "Sometimes the gospel is like a two-edged sword. It brings the good news of salvation on one hand, but accepting it can also bring persecution. It can even drive families apart." Listen to this. "Such as fathers from their sons, or mothers from their daughters, and those who are related by marriage from their in laws. In fact, a disciple's enemies could come from his own family. If you think more highly of your parents or of your family than me, then I can't trust you to be my disciple. Anyone who is not willing to carry his cross just as willingly as I carry mine is not worthy of me. If your only concern is to hold on to life, you'll lose it. But if you're willing to lose your life for my sake, you'll find it." But we're going to focus on the family part. The fact that, because he said a couple of things in this in this passage. He basically, in the beginning of this, said that, you know, you got the good news on one hand, and then on the other side is persecution. So here's the good news. You just came home, and I heard many stories about folks at my church where they received this gospel. They were excited about what they received. And then they went back to family and friends. One of the elders was talking yesterday, and he talked about how he used to be on drugs and he used to be doing all these things. So he went back to one of his aces, his best guys, and was just like, "Hey man, I found him. You know, I'm going with this gospel thing, man. You should come with me." And his friend was just like, "Well, you'll be back here. Like that's not going to work for you. You're going to come back to what I'm doing, and we're going to be, it's going to be business as usual for us." And he looked at him like you're crazy. There's no way that that's going to happen. And that friendship, that friend they had, they didn't totally lose it, but they didn't have that bond anymore. The bond that they had when they was, sitting there doing their drugs together. You know, luckily, the elder he didn't write them off. Now sometimes people write off their friends. Now you don't want to do that. You don't want to write your friends off. You don't want to write your family off. Um, when you come into some good news, if you come into the network marketing business, if you start a new business, if you find the gospel and you decide that you're going full force into your beliefs, don't write your family off. Now, they won't be because they won't be as important as the gospel or Jesus Christ himself. See, he wants us in the last part of that text. He was talking about how you have to put him first. You can't worry about your family. Your family is not your. It's like not your concern. You've got to now focus only on him. And I've seen many times where a lot of times that becomes a challenge because, imagine, and there's a scripture in the word where, the man's father just died. The man's father died, but Jesus is calling him to follow him. God was excited about the gospel. He's like, "Oh, Jesus, man, I want to follow you." Jesus says, "Come on, let's go follow me. We're headed out." He says, "But can I catch up with you later? My father just died, and I've got to go and bury him." You would think that, in the way that we normally think, we would say, "Oh man, I'm gonna pray for you. I understand. I know what that's like. Go ahead and bury your father, and we'll be waiting on you." No, Jesus said something totally different. He said, what did he say? He says, "Let the dead bury the dead. You don't go back. You follow me and let everybody else handle that." Like, who's lost a loved one? And then you had something really important, something that was, maybe it was, it could have been, something you had to do for God. I mean, I don't know, but sometimes you have something even more extremely important than the death itself, where we put death to the most important thing. Now, I haven't experienced having to decide between, doing something in the mission versus, like I mean, I've never had that. I haven't had that experience. Um, so I can't even speak from experience here because that would be hard if my father had died and here it is, my father died and I still needed to go and speak because it's my mission, because I know that that's what God has called me to do. Like I would just have to postpone. I would have to reschedule the, um, funeral. If I've got important things I got to do, the funeral's gonna have to come after that. So, guys, families break over the fact that when someone shows up with good news, others may not be ready to receive it. And if they're not ready to receive it, I think the moral of the story today is that we've got to press on. We can't allow family to get in our way when know we've been called to do something um, at the level of service. I don't know what your mission is. I don't know what your calling is. I don't even know how much you believe in Jesus Christ, but whatever that is, we can never allow our families to get in the way of that. We love our family. And sometimes the family may be mad at you for different things because, man, you didn't show up to an event, and you just got to say, hey, look, this is the mission. And the mission comes first. God's mission comes first. Whatever you believe in, which I'm hoping that you believe in God, in Jesus Christ. Because if you do, then I want you to take this message to heart and not allow anything to get in your way of that mission. I'm taking it to heart today, and I'm praying over this earnestly because I know that this is an important text for me. It's an important text for you. It's an important enlightenment today that the mission is the most important thing. Everything else comes secondary. And that's contrary. That's opposite thinking. See, opposite thinking, which we talked about last week, is basically, not following what most people will do in situations. Following the narrow path of the fact that, if everyone's doing something, then more than likely I need to consider a different route, because that narrow path, no one's doing it. No one's on that path. So that's an opposite way of looking at your thinking. So guys, don't break up with your family just because they didn't believe. But you have to put your mission above your family. That's the most important thing. The mission comes first, family comes second. So, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me today for this Enlightenment series. If you're on Facebook, please like and follow the page, especially if you got any value from the program. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe so you'll be notified whenever this program has been uploaded. All right, guys, I thank you so much for joining me. God bless you. Take care.